meet and to hear from our audience, from our very, very esteemed speakers, very inspirational speakers who are going to tell us about their experience in European funding, hints and tips for their success, and also how participation in European project actually impact their own career and led to wider impact. A couple of things, couple of housekeeping issues. The presentation will be recorded. And if you have any objections, please let us know. Hopefully not. Another thing, we plan to have 10-15 minutes for each presentation. And then if you have any questions, can you please raise your hand after? We have to stick to time very carefully because we don't have much time. And finally, I would like to say, I didn't ever introduce myself. I'm Yulia Matskevich. I'm the Research Development and Partnership Manager for European Funding, working in RSDO. And now, without further ado, let me say a few words about why we are celebrating Brunel success. Just give me a second. I share screen. Sorry, I need to switch screen myself. All right. Share. Can you excuse me for that? All right. So should be there. And we're also hoping, while I'm talking that, while we are waiting for slides, we are hoping that this actually session will be very inspirational for you and also will lead to more European funding applications and will lead to more success. So why we are celebrating? We're celebrating because Brunel really did very well in the two previous framework program. We had 118 projects at Framework 7. We have 96 projects in Horizon 2020. We coordinate many of them. And in Horizon Europe, despite problems with Brexit, the association, not association with work program, we still were doing very, very well. We have now 38 projects and counting, with total value at about 14.5 million euros for Brunel. So just one word about support. Just, Joanna, if you are going to apply for European funding, you're certainly not going to be alone. There is a big, very experienced support team in RSDO. Here is my colleague and myself, and we actually here to support you all the way through life cycle of the project, including our post-award team and Brunel Finance provides support once project is funded. We are doing quite a few things to support you. We're looking for funding opportunities, communicating them. We provide proposal development support. We, of course, do administrative and budget support. And importantly, for European project, particularly, we do partner search or helping to build consortium. On this note, just to let you know that we have very, very big networks and also individual organizations with whom we've been working for a long time just to support you. So if you have any problems looking for partners, please do come and talk to us. And I wanted to say a few words about why we are very excited about European project. That's all on this slide, but I rather not, because I'm going now to hand over to Simon, who is going to tell us much more about it from his experience. And on that, I'm going to stop sharing and hand over to Simon.
Right. Thanks, Julia. Just do the obligatory slide change, which is just going weird. Hold on, bear with me. Okay, can people see that?
Yes.
Good. Okay, so Yulia just wanted to say a few things about. So basically, the projects we've got in this session, we've got four. I think it's four presenters are going to share sort of very interesting observations about EU projects and their projects right now. I just wanted to sort of share some reflections on what the EU's done for me over the years. So very quickly, okay, so my first EU project was back in 1993. The USSR had fallen in 1991, and the EU had developed a Copernicus program to work with, well, basically to try and join Western Europe and Eastern Europe together. I was working at the Centre for Parallel Computing at the University of Westminster as a research fellow. And basically, me and my boss, Steve Winter, we wrote two proposals with various partners in Western Europe and a lot of partners in Eastern Europe. Now, I'm saying that because I'd just got my PhD. I was kind of wet behind my ears, and I was presented with this fantastic opportunity to explore Europe. And I hadn't really seen much of Europe at that point. I'd just been on holiday and not done any professional work. So this was fantastic. And this actually started, this is really important for everybody. This started a long-term relationship with institutions in Hungary, particularly MTA Staki in Budapest. And I say, remember this because I'm going to come back to it. Now, there's a gap. I went from Westminster to Brunel. I had an EPSRC network that was very successful. And I spent the time developing industrial applications of high performance computing, or in those days we called it grid computing. So I got noticed, and I just want to underline that. I kind of did my activities on purpose to try and get noticed by EU projects. So we had a presentation at a meeting organised by the Belief Consortium, and I was one of the few presenters who actually said how this EU investment in grid computing could help industry. We had a practical demonstrator. So we got to know each other. They liked me and they invited me to be part of the second consortium. Now, Belief 2, like Belief, was led by the Technical University of Athens, and it was something called a communication and support action. And essentially, those are aligned to the particular part of the EU that you're working with to help either coordinate some action that they're doing, and action in this sense is initiative, or support some sort of longer term goals that they have. This one specifically was about disseminating the investments in e-infrastructures, or you probably know them better as digital infrastructures. So all the high performance computing work CERN's been doing with the Large Hadron Collider and all the fallout effects it's got into the scientific community in Europe. So this was a busman's holiday for me. I loved this. I love finding out about projects, and we wrote several books that the EU published, and I got to know a lot more people. So one set of people were keen to develop these infrastructures in Africa. And this led to a fantastic part of my life, which was between 2009 and 2015. And we got asked to bid for a consultancy with the European Commission, which was Arena for Africa, that we won. This delivered in parallel with another project called the FEAST project, a feasibility study into digital infrastructures for science in Africa. FEAST was looking to develop national research and education networks in Africa for the first time. We kind of joined them and helped disseminate the benefits of all these things. Overall, this was incredibly good. We jump-started African NRENs pretty much across the continent. We've impacted over 300 universities. We established WACRAN, which is the Western Central Research and Education Network, which represents Western Central Africa. etc. And we also influenced and changed at least 2 governmental policies in Africa. Those are the 4 projects that we had. I led Arena for Africa, I led SciGaia, so I have no fear of EU project coordination, and I was also the technical coordinator and work package leader in EI for Africa and a work package leader in Tandem. But that was a fantastic time. In parallel, and this is what I said about Remember Stacky, I went back to work with the University of Westminster and Stacky again. They invited me to take part in this industrial cloud project, which took a lot of my experience and applied it to industry. 2 projects there, Cloud SME and COLA. We developed over 30 new products, services and systems. We had the first large-scale high-performance simulation system in Sellafield, etc., etc. So in parallel, I had 1 foot in Africa and 1 foot in Europe, and both led to 4 impact case studies for the REF. So lots of good output there. Since then, I've kind of gone to playing a more of a supporting role in projects. So I work with Derek in computer science and Hildago, which was looking at HPC and big data technologies for global systems with several supercomputing centers in Europe. It's led by Stuttgart. Derek was developing software for migration studies, so we helped sort of get that onto those systems. I worked with Anastasia Anagnostou with Stamina, which was a massive 45 partner project on pandemic prediction and management. The lead partner, Exus, liked us so much, we recently submitted another project with them. And we're also just getting started with a Marie Curie postdoctoral fellowship with Sotiros in civil engineering, who's great, which is Firewise, which is looking at using various different techniques for wildfire resilience assessment and management on Greek islands. And I've also got a nice project in the pipeline with Anastasia, which Exus is leading, and also with Ashvin, which I believe I've got 2 Fs there. Sorry, Ashvin. It's about sort of various sort of circular economy projects in that, which I hope we land both, because they're both tremendously exciting. So just to summarize, I couldn't have done any of this without EU funding. That's to underline everything. The UK does not have funding mechanisms with the kind of scope that these do. I certainly wouldn't have been able to do any of the work in Africa. The applied work in industry probably would have got 1 Innovate UK project, not it wouldn't have led to working with 30 different companies, that's for sure. The research outputs from these, and I've just got to warn everybody that you've got to keep an eye on excellent research. You've got to plan that, because usually most of the partners aren't that bothered. But if you plan it, you can get some excellent research and 4-star journal publications. The impact was superb, and I wouldn't have had any impact really without these projects. And now, you know, I'm known for my impact on various different systems in the modeling and simulation community. The people, especially at Brunel, are absolutely fantastic. There's something about EU collaboration that most of the time you meet and work with absolutely positive, wonderful people from different cultures and different countries. And above all, I've had 30 years of incredible adventures. I've visited 21 countries, and I will share anecdotes until the cows come home about adventures in Africa if anybody's interested, but not right now. So I strongly recommend probably the most efficient way of getting funded that you can think of, and is certainly the most impactful way of getting funded as well. That is me.
Right. Thank you very much, Simon. We got already a lot of inspiration.
I'm sorry, I've got to say, Angeliki. So that when I was talking about Exus, guess what I was talking about? Nice to see you. That's an incredibly good surprise.
Actually, when I received the acceptance offer for my fellowship, so I'm coming there in almost 2 weeks, 2 weeks and a half, and so I had access from Abby to all the links and events, and I since I'm coming, I really found that it would be a really good probationary step for me to be aware of the EU projects that Brunel is involved. So here I am.
Well,
Thank
the
you.
project I talked about, Stamina, you're looking at the person who landed the
I
project.
was one of the coordinators. It was a really huge technological problem with 21 technical services, 38 partners, approximately 250 people. So it was huge, but we did it. I had an exceptional collaboration with Anastasia, but I don't want to, to keep talking because I'm here as
Well, all I can say is what a wonderful surprise it is to see you. I'll see you soon in the flesh at Brunel. So, right, I'll switch off and hand back to you, Leah. And well, what a wonderful surprise!
Fantastic. Thank you very much again, Simon. Welcome, Angeliki. And now we are going to talk about another exciting experience of Eugene with his European funding. Eugene, can you share your screen?
Yes, I'm happy to share my screen. I'm also happy to share my experiences with colleagues here today. So let me just share my screen.
Yes.
So just give me a second. Can you confirm that you can see my screen?
Yes.
Perfect. Right. So my name is Eugene. I'm very happy to share with colleagues about my personal journey for European projects. And I hope this will be inspirational for those who might be thinking about becoming part of the project consortium or thinking about submitting a proposal. So I'll share a little bit more about myself. So here we go for the second slide. So I work as the Associate Dean for CEDPS, and also in charge of the undergraduate programs for product design engineering. I'm also involved in standards, in particular for additive manufacturing. So I've been in the chair for International Standard Organization since 2015, and that allowed me to actually network in a much more global scale, very much international scale, as well as being chair for the UK standards for additive manufacturing since 2017. In the area of additive manufacturing and 3D printing, I've been editor-in-chief also for a journal with a good impact factor. So you can tell, again, from my publications and from the projects that I've done, being active means that you have to try and balance not just your publications, not just your track record, but being outward, going out to talk to people. So for me, it would be my involvement in standards. So I lead a research group for additive manufacturing and 4D printing. So we have a mission, right, just to try and lead a center of excellence, in particular to ensure that you have people from design, material science, and manufacturing processes to come together for this area. And we try and conduct research in a very collaborative way, making sure that the environment is conducive for knowledge exchange, to ensure that we deliver applications that are relevant for the industry. So our research group, we've got different areas of focus, but mainly towards design, modeling, analysis, and life cycle assessment. From this area of research, what we have is also to try and look into some of the student projects, but the student projects are collaborative in nature. So just a little bit of a background with two projects that we did when with Jack Bilkley back in 2016, and the other one over here, which is to design and build 3D printers from scratch. And they include partners, for example, repurposing Portland stone waste was a project with the Portland Student Quarry Trust. And all of Portland, they gave us material. We went to civil engineering, we did the material compounding, and Jack actually built his 3D printer from scratch, including the coding. It's very inspirational. Returning back to standards, so this is a picture here, a photograph taken back in 2015, one of my first chairing sessions for ISO TC 261 for the working group 4. So in total, we've published about 8 international standards. And I personally led one of the standards for 529 trough, more about multiple materials. So multiple materials for additive manufacturing creates a standard. It's been published by the BSI, it's been published by ISO. Again, a testimony of working collaboratively together at the international level. That means, as what Simon says, it can be very enriching, making sure that you get a chance to talk to people, share experiences and knowledge. Also, a background in 4D printing, the use of shape memory materials, which we developed in our own labs. We published papers back in 2014 as one of the more pioneering papers about 4D printing, something more novel and impactful. In the labs, we do experiments as well. So returning back to the theme about EU projects. So I've been in Brunel since 2015, so about 9 years now, and we have completed 4 EU projects in the past. As you can see, the SAM project, the Modai project, Annex Eden project, and the Lenses project. These have been completed. But at the moment, we have 5 ongoing EU projects, and funding from EU is crucial. Otherwise, we will not be where we are today in terms of our standing or reputation for additive manufacturing. So all of these projects have very different levels of impact. Some of these projects are more towards training and education, maybe with a theme about sustainability, a theme on AI. But some of those projects, the impact will be the scientific and technical knowledge being generated. So you have Mountain, for example, which is very noble, using carbon fiber, using aluminum, very difficult to process, very difficult for both materials to co-join together. The Mountain project in particular will be exhibited at the NEC next month from 5th to 6th of June. So if you're planning to be there, please come and visit us. We've got a stand, we've got some samples, we've got lots of fantastic materials to share with you. So if you plan to be there, please come and look for us at stand K40, a bit of self-promotion. Now, talking about personal experience, I'm quite mindful I only have 15 minutes to talk to you. So personal experience, the first things first to me when working on EU projects is to be very strategic about choosing the right call. Sometimes we are forced to choose a call, or sometimes you might have the choice to lead. Sometimes you might have the opportunity to be invited. But choosing a call is important, right? It can be an Erasmus Plus project. It can be a Marie Curie kind of a fellowship project, which maybe Michael will be speaking about that later. It can be a very scientific call for innovation action, research innovation action, or a CSA call. But you need to know what call would be your priority and choose the call for your benefit. Once you have chosen the call or the topic, then you will need to find the people that you want to work with together. And the composition of the consortium, sometimes if you are the coordinator, then you have the opportunity to bring the experts together. But remember, some experts will also bring along the best mates. They'll bring along their own allies. So that can make things complicated within the consortium. And within the consortium, you will find very different levels of hierarchy, ego, culture, personalities. And the composition of the consortium gives you a taste. If you're being successful, these will be the people that you're going to work with for the next 2 years, 3 years, or even 4 years. So think about the consortium very carefully, who you wish to invite and who you wish to work with. It can be from Brunel internally, or it can be externally as well as the countries. Then step 3 will be the actual writing, and that's where I think the battles are going to be taking place, right? It will be an internal battle about who is going to be writing the scientific aspects of the proposal, who will be doing the budget, the role of the coordinator. Some coordinators are proactive, some coordinators are less proactive, some coordinators will assign the tasks to different partners, some are more democratic. So the actual writing is a battle itself, and that takes a lot of time and effort in the actual writing. That brings me to step 4, which is really about tough negotiations. But you'll be negotiating with all sorts of people at all levels, sometimes negotiating also with the RSDO. But remember, the RSDO is always on your side. Sometimes you might need to negotiate the head of department for access to facilities, resources, and if you are successful, how will you manage to buy time out from your teaching? So negotiation at different levels, sometimes simultaneously, and of course overnight, over the weekends as well. Step 5, excellent science. Now, this is where you need to balance between quality and quantity in the writing, whether you want to write a lot or you want to really go down into detail, showcasing the use cases. So you realize here, I'm quite mindful of time. Just finishing up a couple more slides from me. And step 6, I think, is the most excruciating, the waiting. But what do you do during the waiting? You can still maximize the time while waiting for the results to be out in 3 to 4 months. Still get to know the partners, find opportunities for exchanges, visit them, talk to them, think about the next proposal that you want to look into, or think of other opportunities during the waiting period. Just top 3 tips before I conclude the presentation. Don't be afraid of EU codes. If this is your first time, then don't be afraid. Put yourself forward, talk to the RSDO, and the RSDO support is absolutely crucial. Go and attend the talks, get to know them, get support from them about how to write proposals during the budgets. And remember, failure is part of the process, right? Be prepared for failure for all of those projects that we have been successful. In the other hand, you don't see will be lots of failures. It's just like the tip of the iceberg. There's a lot of failures along the way. So if you'd like to collaborate with me, drop me an email, or you can always check out our research at meltem.eu. I hope this has been inspirational and hope to collaborate with all of you again. Yeah. Thank you very much. Thank you, Lula. Stop sharing right now.
Thank you very much, Eugene. It was indeed very inspirational. And now I must confess that I was begging about keeping to time, but I think we have a bit more time by just looking at the program myself. So please, esteemed audience, any questions, reactions? We just have time to discuss. If you have any, please raise your hands or just open your microphone. Maybe I can ask a question.
Of course, definitely.
So Eugene, what do you find the most difficult about European funding proposal? That's we've seen all the good things. What about the most difficult thing you think? And how we can help you?
In the proposal stage, the most difficult part is to find good partners. To me, finding partners who will be with you throughout the whole journey of writing, who are committed, who are responsive, who respond to emails, and actually contribute in the writing, contribute in the discussion, that's the most difficult. Anybody can say they want to be a partner, but later on they go missing. They don't respond, they don't complete, they don't provide the details. And that becomes a huge problem, and you can't remove them sometimes. It's difficult. Also with finding partners, finding reliable partners. Right.
Oh, thank you. I think Pinlin wants to ask something.
Yeah, hi, thank you so much, Eugene. It's got to do with what you just said about partners. Like for me, I'm an early career researcher and I've just been invited to join a consortium. Of course, I'm like super excited, but I don't know who all the other people are. So what are some of the things do you think we should be looking out for? And at which point do we say, okay, this is not making me feel comfortable and I should step out of this consortium?
Yes. I have been in that situation before, and I have told the consortium and the coordinator that I wish to leave. There could be instances where you feel that this call is not right, or the consortium direction is not aligned to your area of expertise. Tell them, be honest, and leave, but always be diplomatic and professional. It really depends on the situation, but remember, once you leave, it's very difficult to rejoin. So you need to think about this carefully. If you are an early career researcher, I would advise you to speak to somebody more senior. It could be your mentor, it could be your director of research from your department, or a colleague that you find will give you good advice, a critical friend. that can work with you, or someone like Simon, very experienced, to give you a bit more guidance, I would suggest have a separate meeting and talk to them about the situation that you're facing.
Would it, sorry, just to follow on, do you think it would be a good idea to bring in the mentor like in our first consortium meeting or something like that?
It depends, because some consultant meetings are confidential. Only if your mentor is meant to be a project partner, then he should be invited. But otherwise, I don't think it would be professional, because a consultant meeting is the only one people who are full partners to be involved. A mentor should be discussed separately. Remember, confidentiality for the project. You shouldn't tell the mentor things that are confidential, but you can tell him or her in general to seek advice.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Yulia, I think you're muted. Sorry.
I just wanted to add one thing. I think in my experience, and I've been involved in various stages of European proposal and European project, I think it's also very important that your partner will deliver, because that's some of them came very rosy and very kind of exciting on the stage of proposal. But the process of writing and of course done on the at the stage of delivery of the project, it turns out that they actually don't take a lot of work. So there are some early signs about it, particularly when they are not very engaged in proposal writing. But that's my experience. Sorry, Angelica, you wanted to ask something as well.
No, I wanted to share also my experience from proposal writing and leading consortiums. I totally agree with both of you that building a consortium and having people that you can trust on and feel really safe working with them, and when they tell you I will deliver on time, you know that their input will be there. So this is number one. Also selecting, I would say that it depends on how, when the writing process starts, it depends on how, you want to split the job. So for example, I have been in the position that I wrote the whole proposal, so all sections, which is, it's a mess, or identifying strong partners, and you can split then the job excellence, so section 1, section 2, section 3. And also from another important thing that I have identified, at least what they are currently, the reviewers are checking, is they double check whether you reapply, resubmit the same, let's say, tools, particularly for the AI partners. I'm telling that. So you claim money presenting and for one tool, and then without let's say modifying a lot your tool, you resubmit a similar idea and you claim again more money. So they started recently checking that. So it seems that it's good to update the tools and explain that every time.
May I just add to that, and thank you, Angelica, that now Commission is very serious about artificial intelligence used to write application, but that's actually merit additional discussion, or maybe the whole session. So, but maybe now we move to next presentation from Afshin, if you're ready to share your screen.
Yes, I'm ready. Thank you, Yulia. Let me share my screen with everyone. Can you see my screen?
Yes.
Okay. Hello and good afternoon, everybody. It's a pleasure attending this session and presenting and sharing some of my experiences with European funding projects. The title look a bit scary, but not to worry. I'm going to share both positives and the areas that you need to consider when stepping into the remit of European funding and any type of funding aiming for impact. Just a bit of background about my experience with funding in general and with EU funding. I've been involved in 8 funded projects by UK and EU funding bodies, over 2 million euros in total over the past 10-15 years, including 4 European funded projects. And money-wise, I would say the bulk of funding has come from EU, and I second Simon's comment that without EU funding, most of the things that I'm going to express and present today would have not been possible. So a great support and a good source of money. So what I'm going to present is a story about some of my initiatives centered around a tool that we developed in one of the European funded projects called the Green Yard Scheduler, and the journey that we've taken, and it is ongoing. So I phrase it as an ultra marathon. So the first marathon started back in 2010, 2011, nearly 15 years ago, when I started aligning my line of research on scheduling towards considering sustainability explicitly. For those of you who are familiar with scheduling, scheduling is about basically timing activities. In any project, you set the priority rules, dependencies, and then you start planning the timing of activities, sequence of the activities, and allocating resources to them. So that's the basic concept of scheduling. And it wasn't a new concept, and it is not new, and it's been one of my active areas of research since my PhD time. At that time, with the movement and interest towards sustainability and carbon footprint reduction in operations, I started with a colleague researching on embedding explicitly energy consumption and sustainability as an additional objective in traditional scheduling. And classical scheduling is predominantly centered around either performance or cost-oriented objectives. Things like minimizing project completion time, or minimizing project cost overrun, or minimizing delays. All these things are around these 2 KPIs, either performance or cost-oriented. Green scheduling was a concept in which we explicitly embedded a sustainability dimension, more specifically energy consumption. And it took us nearly 5 years to conceptualize this concept and show that it works in a hypothetical scenario which is adapted from real world in the manufacturing. And we published this paper in European Journal of Operational Research in 2016. And if I'm not mistaken, this paper is the first paper that the term green scheduling has been used. So in a way, we coined the term. And about the same time, I've been involved in an FP7 project called Minichip with a shipping company. And from that line, I had initiated a conversation with the Port of Felixstowe in UK. We exchanged some ideas about their optimization and yard planning activities and how we can work together. So these 2 things coincided. And after this project completed, and with the team with whom we won another EU-funded project called Z-Factor, we started bidding about, I think in 2016, for a port-related project. And we won it, and the project started in 2018, and we ran it until 2022, the COVID period, and very tough time to do a project remotely. But it was the second marathon along this line. In this project, which had 13 partners from 7 different countries, we led the development of a solution based on the concept of green scheduling that we developed. And for the proposal, we had the Port of Felixstowe on board as a partner. And I believe their partnership helped us to win the proposal as a major port in UK. I think they had a positive role in us winning the proposal. And with them and in consultation with them and knowing their problems, we defined a work package to develop for the first time a solution in which we apply the concept in a real world, which is container terminal operations, and we called it Green Yard Scheduler at that time. Unfortunately, as soon as we got the funding, Port of Felix pulled out, and we had to replace them with another partner, which I'm going to explain later. So we continued the project with another partner. But that was the idea, and we initiated this journey. Just to give you a bit of background about the importance and significance of the problem, maritime shipping is the backbone of world trade. 90% of global trade is moved by sea transport, and ports have a significant role in global trade and connecting businesses and people around the world. And ports have a major environmental impact, and outside all types of ports and all types of shipping, 60% of global cargo is handled by container vessels. The standard boxes in which businesses put the cargo and ship in standard type vessels. And the handling of these containers in ports and container terminals is a very complex operation, and it normally involves various aspects of operational efficiency, environmental efficiency. So it's a very complex problem. And because of the integration of ports with cities, major ports around the world are integrated with host cities. Cities like Shanghai, Rotterdam, Vancouver, Barcelona, Genova, all are well integrated with their ports. And this is a piece of news from Los Angeles Times back in 2020 that blamed the port of LA as the biggest polluter of the LA area. And the right-hand side is a reflection of the vessels waiting. It was right after the COVID. And you can see long queue of vessels around the Long Beach. And this is not unique. In many ports around the world, we've seen this problem. And the emissions and the environmental impact was at the top agenda of both formal media and social media. So sustainability of ports was and is a major concern for different stakeholders, from the general public, port authorities, local authorities, and port operators, and so forth. So since the Port of Felix pulled out, we replaced them with the Port of Vigo, which is a much smaller port on the Atlantic side of Spain. But it provided us a very good opportunity to examine our concepts and work with a real case in a smaller scale, which was to some extent easier for us to collaborate. And our collaboration was very smooth. Port of Vigo has 4 terminals, and cruise terminal, ro-ro terminal, and fishing terminal, they are all active, but we work with their container terminal. And it's a small to medium sized terminal compared to Felix. Is about 1/20th of the size of Felix, so but with similar operations, similar equipment. We developed a tool for them, which we tested and validated there. It works with the terminal operating system. It has 3 modules out of 14 possible modules as a prototype. And we tested and validated its performance at the Port of Vigo in a 3-month period, and we observed that it can bring about significant benefits, both in terms of efficiency, reducing number of container movements and non-productive moves, up to energy consumption and truck energy consumption. So significant potential for improvement, which was very good, and we completed the project at that stage. So if you want to look at the technology readiness level trajectory of this concept, starting from basic principles, the first marathon, I would say what we did in the period between 2011 and 2015 was to reach TRL1. a concept that was tested and validated in a hypothetical situation and without any real data. So starting from TRL1 and with the help of the European funding and working with real companies, Port of Vigo in this case, the rest of journey from TRL2, which was technology concept formulation, up to TRL7, which was system prototype demonstration in operational environment, was made possible in 4 years. Again, without funding, without massive funding, we invested only in this tool. The total budget that Brunel spent on the Port of Vigo, which was basically working in this, we spent about €1 million in this tool. So this 6 TRL levels was made possible with this massive investment and hard work of all team members and the consortium members to take it to this level. So I would say a significant improvement, given a good part of this time was disrupted by COVID and we didn't have access to the port. But because of that smooth collaboration, we managed to develop and deploy the tool remotely, and we practice how to develop software without setting foot in the port. Some of my team members didn't even see the port once, but we managed to work remotely using technology. So we learned a lot of good lessons that we can take and use in other contexts. So we have 2 more TRL levels for this tool to become a fully functional solution in the market. Sorry if you hear some background noise. I cannot shut these windows, and there is this truck outside our building. I don't know doing what since this morning. So sorry if you hear some background noise. So in order to promote the impact of this work, which has potential for improvement, we still needed to push it to higher TRL levels. So here is where the 3rd marathon started, towards impact, which we started formally in 2022, right after the Port Forward project completed, and it is still going. In terms of academic dissemination, we promoted the results in academic conferences, we wrote a journal paper, and we are still working in other papers. We started a range of public dissemination. I delivered a webinar for the OR Society, and we created a promotional video that we posted it on YouTube, which was a very useful tool to attract the attention of users. As soon as we posted the video on YouTube, I got contacted by a technology company wanting to explore opportunities for collaboration. So it was a very good starting point for this journey. Towards the end of the Port Forward project, and given the level of maturity that our tool was achieving, we looked for additional funding to work on the impact and boosting the impact and wider application. And after consultation with the project officer, we went and applied for a supplementary program called Horizon Booster. You may have heard of it. It's a consultancy and mentoring program funded by the European Commission for the projects that have potential and the outcomes, technological innovations that have potential for commercialization. So they help and support these groups to take their journey a little further. And we benefited from a range of services from them, starting from the IP protection, talking about different aspects of patenting, copyright, trademarks, with some detailed level of information. Then some guidance about different commercialization channels through spin-offs, startups, joint venture, licensing, and more about investment opportunities, something that we were not that much aware of. Difference between equity and debt capital and different investment stages and actors, starting from angel investors who invest ideas at the earliest stage up to around 200,000 euros, then seed funding for more advanced ideas up to 1.5 million euros, then expansion stage, which requires anything between 1.5 to 5 million euros, and then late growth, which requires up to 50 million euros funding. So just to give you an idea of the level of funding which is needed to settle products like a software system that we develop in a market after consultation with some companies, it ultimately will require something to the range of about 10 million euros. So we definitely need to go and raise funds beyond angel investing and seed funding onto even beyond expansion stage to late growth. So we have already spent 1 million for developing the concept, but this is on top of that. And this is where the journey becomes more challenging and the slope of the peak becomes steeper. So this was very useful, and we got some initial clue and some call for future interaction with the Horizon Booster team. Some of the teams who provided this training are professional consultants. So they have connections with investors, and so they showed willingness to help us along the way. But before that, we need some more thing, which I'm going to explain. Before we can approach investors, we need some more evidence about the potential of the solution by implementing it in other ports. Then a very useful piece of service that we received from them was formulating value propositions, which was very helpful in reaching out to investors and ports in order to implement our solution. So with that, we identified two potential target groups and customer groups for our solution for the Greenyard Scheduler: terminal operators and solution providers. For terminal operators, it has the benefit of energy saving, cost saving, improving productivity, and we all formulated it in our value proposition for terminal operators. And for solution providers, companies who provide software solutions to ports, we emphasize on the potential of our tool to add value to their existing solutions and to speed up their process to release new products with new features and avoiding spending ages in developing the things that has already been developed and tested and validated by using European funding, which is a kind of good branding image. And this Horizon Booster program also helps us in this. This is one of the advices we received from the project officer. The projects that go through Horizon Booster, even if they don't get the funding straight away, they will become more visible to potential investors because they have gone through a preliminary selection stage by the European Commission. So it's a kind of indirect approval of the potential. So these are the things that we highlighted in our value proposition for solution providers. Then to start active negotiation with potential users, I got an Impact Accelerator Award, again recommended by colleagues in business development office at RSD. I wasn't aware of this, and it was a very helpful support at this stage, because what I needed at this stage was to take our tool and to promote it in professional and practitioner events, and to start piloting it in other ports, and to develop a prototype, a web-based prototype. Our solution, the initial solution, is a desktop application, and I can run it only from my computer, my desktop computer at Brunel, because of the IP address, and the access to the Port of Vigo's terminal operating system is only awarded to this desktop here. So for whatever meeting I have with businesses, with ports, with technology providers, I need to connect to my computer here and show a demonstration for them, which kind of is a limitation because we need a more flexible tool. So we needed to develop a web-based tool, a web-based prototype of the system, which required money and effort to be developed. So I put everything together and got a 40K funding from, which is originally an EPSRC Impact Acceleration account, but is managed by Brunel University in a project that we called PROGIS, Promoting the Reach and Impact of the Green Yard Scheduler. And the aim of this project is to move towards TRL8. And I'm still in the middle of this project, and we are working on that web-based demonstration and participation in business events, which are very costly. Unlike academic conferences, if you want to present something in a business forum, you need to sponsor them, and the sponsorship is very expensive. You cannot do it with this simple academic conference budgets. So this funding is definitely needed. And then piloting in ports require time and effort. So I managed to squeeze everything within this budget and started the project with engaging with beneficiaries. I've attended a range of business events so far, London International Shipping Week last year, and Connected Places Catapult, who is a partner in this project, and they look after transportation, and they have maritime shipping as one of their focus areas. So I presented this tool in the Catapult's Maritime Growth Summit last night in Liverpool. Then in a container terminal automation conference in Valencia late back in May. And then I managed to sign a contract with one of the major players of business events for ports, Port Technology International, for sponsoring 2 of their events, Green Tech for Ports and Terminals, which was 2 weeks ago in Barcelona, and Smart and Digital Port of the Future, which is another event in September in Rotterdam. They are hugely important and crucial events to engage with potential users. And in parallel, I continue negotiation with customer segments, both terminal operators and solution providers. So this is a summary of the first sponsored event, which was attended by more than 200 delegates from a range of stakeholder groups of sustainability issues around ports, from port authorities, policymakers, terminal operators, technology providers, even financiers and banks who support sustainability initiatives. So using this sponsorship, I managed to deliver a keynote address in a very good slot, which was very well received. And then we had a stand to promote our tool and Brunel University in there. And it provided an opportunity to enter into a close dialogue with several stakeholders. And you can see some of the images here. And I have lined up follow-up meetings with them and calls with them to discuss and identify areas for collaboration. And one of the positive things from this sponsorship was reaffirming and reconsolidating our relationship with the Port of Vigo. So I managed to invite the Port of Vigo into these events that I've sponsored. So they will have a stand and a position in the panels, and they talk about it and indirectly promote the Green Yard Scheduler and the work that we've done together. Okay, next steps. There are a few things that we still need to continue. First and foremost, continue negotiations with ports and solution providers for the adoption or piloting the Green Yard Scheduler, which is very, very important. Without further evidence and further support from at least 1 or 2 more ports, it is very difficult to sell the product sell the solution to investors. So that's very important, and it usually is one of the stages that take a lot of effort. We also are working on completing the cloud version of the Greenyard Scheduler demo for initiating a marketing campaign and attracting more potential users, and continue promoting the Greenyard Scheduler by attending the business events. And in all, I would say the third marathon continues, and I'm still wondering where and when is the end line, because I, to be honest, don't know when this marathon will end. Unlike the previous marathons, I knew the first one was kind of easy, a publication. The second was also kind of easy. We had a project we needed to complete, and we had the ambition to take the solution to a specific TRL. But for this one, I don't know when we'll find enough evidence in order to settle the solution as a viable option in the market. And more than that, I'm not too sure whether there is a fourth marathon ahead. Final words. The road to impact is not smooth, as you may have got from my explanations, but I can confirm that the journey is exciting. So I liked it and I still enjoy it. It may take you out of your comfort zone. Engaging with businesses, engaging with investors, engaging with non-academic people is not the sort of comfort zone for many of us academics. Therefore, it's a consideration. It requires a high level of motivation and determination. End line of research for many research projects, for many academics, is publication. So when you publish, you think, okay, it's all done and dusted, I go and start all over again. Here, it starts, the big part of the journey starts after the publication. And it also requires more support from the university beyond the financial resource. So funding and money in order to pay for research assistance or attendance in events is very supportive and helpful, but it is not enough. University will need to provide more support in order to encourage academics to spend their time in impact-related activities. This is not the sort of thing that is clearly recognized in workloads, in recognitions, etc. So more support on this is needed. Despite all these things, I would say the result could well worth the effort. If you manage to land the results and impact of your research in real world, it will have massive, massive potential for reward. And in my view, I would say to all my colleagues, go for it if you care to make a difference and you fancy the adventure. Thank you very much for your attention. I'm happy to take any question you may have.
Right, thank you very much, Afshin. I know that you have to go soon, so probably can our audience take this opportunity to ask questions?
Yes.
Can I make some comments when colleagues make up their minds about questions? I'm really happy that you were talking about basically what is exploitation of results, which is very kind of unknown area, and not unknown, it's very complex area for most academic researchers. Also very interesting when we talk about Horizon Results Booster. There is also Horizon Results Platform, but I think they sometimes commission even come back to us asking us, you have these results and so project, are you doing something with that? But the path, how you're going to do something with these results is not so clear. So it's very interesting. Your experience is very interesting and amazing.
Okay, yes, thank you, absolutely. When we were towards the end of the Port Forward project, as I said, we had this direct dialogue with the project officer, and they said that the type of funding from the European Commission is for projects up onto this TRL level. So TRL 6, 7 is normally the maximum level of funding they would still consider as research. After that, they expect investors to come. And this support from Horizon Booster or Horizon Platform, anything like this, I think is to help these ideas to attract investors and companies. So this is something in transition, and any further support, if you know, is coming from the European Commission, I would really much look forward to that. We still need support.
Yeah, we should look into it, and I think it's very, very, again, useful experience for all participants in the European project. And I think it would be maybe at some point we need to organize special event basically about how you take your results further. So I think that would be very useful.
One last comment. The journey to impact that I explained is not the only pathway to impact. Not all research projects have the same pathway to impact. The example, the journey I took was for a product, a solution, a technology solution, which ultimately will need to be used by companies, by ports, by solution providers. So not necessarily all type of research has a product that need to be exploited. Some of the scientific research in basic science, in physics, in math, they may have different pathways. So just this caveat, that's not necessarily everybody has to go through all these stages, but if the outcome of research is something that has the potential to be used by external users, then more likely they need to go through these stages and ultimately go for commercialization.
Thank you very much, Afshin. And interesting, your last words about different types of impact actually paved the way very smoothly to our next presentation from Martin, because we are now talking about policy recommendations as impact. Martin, you happy to share your screen?
Yes, okay, it's my turn. Okay, yeah, share.
Yes, we can see. Maybe full screen mode?
Yes, it takes a while, yes.
Yes, it is
Okay.
there. Thank you.
So, some stats about me. I'm a member of the environmental division, and from house I'm a biomathematician and biostatistician. But I'm also qualified trained in other areas, biology and economology. So I'm speaking languages from very different areas, which is very helpful in my research area. I have work experience over 30 years, and not only in academia, but also industry and especially chemical regulation. So it's all about chemicals in our environment. So my research really are toxicology and chemical risk assessment and regulation. Over the years, I was involved more or less in all areas behind chemical risk assessment. So on the human side, human toxicology, and the environment side, ecotox side, also on the hazard effect assessment side. So the question, what are the substance doing to the environment or to us, but also the other field, the exposure assessment, what is the environment or our body doing to the compounds. Specialized also in test systems development during my and member of the different experts groups, OECD. And focus was always and still is always risk assessment, chemical riskness, and the next step, regulation. Just to focus, give you some focus. I'm focusing only on unintentional exposure to man-made chemicals. So not acute toxicology or drug design or something like this. So that's all about. Okay, past and current European projects. I have listed here only the research and innovation projects where I was either coordinator, PI, or research fellow. And yes, you see correct, my career started under FP5 a long time ago. was a project at that time. I was still in Germany, in Bremen, my home university. And I have also grouped this according to some topics in this field. At that time, nothing was known about, more or less, nothing was known about chemical nature. So the chemical regulation was always focusing on single substances, single compounds. And the common misbelief, I would say, was there's no need to consider chemical mixtures because we have no problems. And the second misbelief was we cannot do this. It's too complex a topic. At that time, a small group of young researchers, we were all in the age around end 20s, so really early career researchers, we disagreed with this. And we really had really strong beliefs we can probably do something. And well, we actually wrote an EU project grant. It was the first one at my university, and we succeeded. It was considered as high risk because of the topic and also because of our lack of experience. And also interestingly, we faced really strong resistance from senior staff, not only internally, but also from the field. It was considered as a waste of money. It turned out it was one of the most successful projects. We more or less laid the foundation for where we are now. So we laid not only the concepts, models, concepts, and all this, but we also provided very robust, sound experimental evidence. This led, as you see, to many follow-up projects. At the moment, I'm PI in a project called Panoramics. I come back to this later. And the second big problem which we discovered, which was discovered really from the research side, was what we call endocrine disrupting chemicals, which were not regulated. These are chemicals which can mimic our hormone system. So our body thinks this is a meaningful response coming from the substance, and at the wrong place, wrong time point, it can really can lead to severe human health or also environmental problems. So one of the first projects was actually managed by Brunel. At that time, I was still with Andreas Kordenkamp at the School of Pharmacy. So we have a partner in the ACE project, but then we got also our own Eden project. And then you see it also was a starting point for some other projects. And at the moment, I'm PI in the Endpoints project, and we are also coordinating the senior project, and I will also come back later about that. And as you're also aware, generally the whole safety assessment chemical is still based on animal testing. That's the backbone for decision making. But there's a general agreement in our society that we don't want this, and we are now in the tradition, what we call the mechanistic-based animal-free toxicology and risk assessment. So this started really in a more focused way with the first big project under FP7, this SNOTS project. It was really one of the really big projects. It was around 30, 40 partners, and budget was, I think, 30 million or so. And you see on the right side, two of the projects we are covering, and that was always a strategy to cover as many as possible hot topics. The first tranche is rather new, and I will also explain it later. We are partner in the PARC consortium, which focus in general on chemical risk assessment and regulation. Our motivation to do this is always impact. So all projects are impact driven, and that's the vision we have change whenever we consider as essential. So all these projects is either the national or national project are always developed with a certain impact aim, and impact aim is always policy change. So just to get an answer, I mean, the EDC, Andreas Kortenkamp could probably refer to this. for ours, because he is one of the main drivers in Europe who changed the whole policy around the endocrine disrupting chemicals, and he can also gives you also a lesson in how to use really the different political sources to really achieve some impact. I'm more close to chemical mixtures, just to give you some backgrounds. The PREDICT project in the early in Beam led, I think it was, when was it? To the first big important was actually a white paper for future chemicals policies published by the commission. It was really based directly on the outcomes of our European projects, and citing really we need more research, citing this, and that opened, of course, paves the way for more research projects on, here you see on international levels, but then also on national levels, not necessarily UK, but we have good collaboration to many other member states. So many of the national projects are funded then by Denmark, Germany, or France. We were, as I don't probably have no time, but it's an interesting story how to really achieve impact on the European level, because you need to understand really how it works and when to use which channel, whether it's national regulators or national governments or NGOs or the press and so on. But we were always behind all the core texts which achieved in the last 20, 30 years. So we had some type of control. So very often we were aware about the core texts before that became public, which helps a lot. Okay. Here. Okay, just to give you a little bit insight in some of the endocrine disruptor projects. This is in the response to a strategy paper we were behind in 2018, highlighting that there is a willingness in the European Union, confirmed by the Commission, the Parliament, we had also Parliament input, that the aim is, one vision is really to minimize the exposure to endocrine disruptors. And the second is also to find ways how to do this. And this was the starting, this was the reason why we got this, why became the call for the ED cluster call, was focusing on improving test methods for the detection of chemicals that really can disrupt the hormone system. And as soon as the call text was out, we here at Brunel invited all major players to a meeting in order to to avoid competition and to build up the main consortia. And all at the time we came to 3 consortium we developed, and they're all successful. We overlooked 2, which were not on our agenda. So in total, 8 projects were funded. We are involved in 3. Top, you see Athena, it's coordinated by Andreas, focusing on so-called thyroid hormone disruptors. Second one, I'm involved as PI, that's focusing more on developmental neurotoxicity. And the third one, we also involved as partner and PIs, Andreas and Sibylle. So that was a very good approach. Just to give you a little bit insight, and I should keep it as short as possible. Endpoints project, this is usually the budget around roughly for all these in the consortia, between 6 and 7 million. The reason why I'm here showing the number of participants is to highlight it's can be very wise to outreach also to partners outside EU. Our experience is, at least in our field, it's what the Commission likes. And here you see we reach out to the US, but also to Australia, which makes obviously common meetings very problematic. Just here, I will keep it as short as possible. These projects are very, very complex. So you need experience from very diverse areas. So coming really from what you would consider as bioscience areas up to people who are experienced in regulation. And the aim is really to bring all together. Lack of time, I will not go, but it's very fascinating because even for a mathematician, the other project, what we're coordinating, Athena, it's very similar. It's focusing mainly on test methods, but test concepts, approaches, with the aim really to find out ways how we can use this in the chemical risk assessment. Also, one strategy which we like is to keep the numbers of partners as small as possible. The advantage is not only to manage them, it makes it really easier, but also the consequence is that most partners have a bigger budget, so it's more flexible. I'm also here, what I mentioned, in a complete different project that's focusing on the mixture issue. Keep in mind that if we are measuring your blood, we still don't have an overview about the whole pollution side. We still don't know, but with modern techniques, I can guarantee you we can find at least 1,000 man-made compounds. So the complex real-life mixture scenarios outside the environment and out is still a problem. Usually we know only pieces. We followed here a different approach. You see member states, number 8 is an agency, and you should know this agency, the German agency, German Federal Institute of Risk Assessment for Human Risk Assessment, is still believed, it's one of the last in Europe, that we don't have a problem with complex mixtures and we don't need any further regulation on that. So it's a new strategy, invite your enemy and your consortium. Also, I have here mentioned stakeholder integration. Yes, it's always required, obviously, but this is the first project where we have a really proactive stakeholder integration. It means, for example, for me, I have regular meetings with UCPA, and they're really trying to support us. So there are some collaborations between Europe and at least the US, where we are really working active on. Some aims, yes, it's really trying to find really a better picture about the whole exposome, not only in the environment or the food chain, but also especially human. And then aligned to real life scenarios. So we are looking really in people. So for example, you see on the top mother-child cohort studies we have assessed, so we can measure and we can follow their health or the medical records over a long time. And always, that's my main interest, or our interest, Andreas, also always focus on what can be done really realistically on the regulation side. And here, especially what drives me at the moment is human biohuman studies, which will probably become a very important tool for regulators in the future. We see this already, but they are not legal binding outcomes. So last not least, needs to mention is it's not really a project, it's one of the partnership, which I was happy to hear. It's not only in our area happening. Yes, everybody in the field in Europe is on board, so 200 institutions, and I think probably around 250. So all fields, I mean, academia, all the risk assessor, and also NGOs, but not industry, interestingly. The funding scenario is a little bit awful, I must admit, because here the EU only funds 50% and expect that the other 50% comes from the member states. UK has unfortunately decided, okay, the remaining 50% in our case must come from the university. So what we can do in this is obviously very limited. It's led by Leni, it's PI. And in this platform, we have also define, develop our own strategies, our own projects. I just mentioned this here, but we are not really happy about that. Okay, some common mistakes after 30 years experience in grant writing, and I limited it to 4, which I think what I see again and again, at least in our area, as common, which I call common mistakes or underestimations. First of all, never believe only the core text. It just really tells only the half-truths. You need to have a really good understanding about the context, what led to the program, what led to the context, what's really behind the wider vision behind. Then the second point, well, it's more or less the scenario for every grant, I would say, but especially for the European grant funds. Keep in mind that only 2, 3, 4, 5 people will read your grant. And these are mainly the evaluators. And they have not much time. So try to help them. Try to avoid text overload. Try to think in terms of optimal graphical designs writing rules. So what I'm doing always, because I'm not trained, we are not really trained to seek for external expertise. And even font size, when to put something in bold or not, matters what I do. Then never underestimate the time you need to plan or write a grant. An EU grant is not the same as a normal, let's say, a national grant. Usually, with the first appearance of the core text until the final version of the core text, at least the successful consortium already established, at least the core members. And once it's really out, the final version, they're starting working. And you need usually 5, 6 months. And I'm talking here about, which is now very common in our area, around 5, 6 up more million euros. And now the most important, you will need to leave your comfortable scientific bubble. That's what we can do, what we are trained to do, scientific part, writing the scientific part. But remember how your grant is scored. There are 3 criteria. They're equally weighted. And only the first criteria, really focusing what you would understand as scientific part. And it's always a common mistake. People spend 80–90% only on the scientific part and not on the impact and the implementation of management. So whenever a grant fails, very often because of lower score for criterion 2 and 3. Usually you should always achieve on the criterion 1 to 5, the maximum score. Okay, now something which I really like, which I completely agree, and that's something from Marco. He is really a very experienced grant senior expert. The expectation, and they have changed over the last 10–20 years. First of all, we are seeing more and more these really large projects. with partners, with 20, 30 partners. And it's quite a difference if you have to manage during the grant writing 10 or less partners or 20, 30. Keep this in mind. First, the ambitious goals. Yes, that's always what to expect. The buzzword is always what is see global impact. What does it mean for you? Then you have to keep an eye on that you're representative regarding the EU member states. This can be sometimes a little bit, complicated, because then we are forced to invite sometimes a partner, not really necessarily, because we felt that some areas in Europe were not underrepresented. As a consequence of this larger and larger project, you will have to deal with more and more very different areas. Each area has its own language, an own scientific language, an own way how they approach problems. And you will have to understand this, you have to deal with it. Another very important is, which very often underestimated, and EU is very keen on this, pay significant attention to ethical principles. It's not only a copy and paste from the last success grants, it's changing. And then also, probably you're all aware, focus more and more on open access, research data management, the famous research data management plans, and so on, the dissemination. What I do, or what we do, is we are always seeking expertise from outside, because this is a very dynamic field and it's nearly impossible to be up to date. If possible, also that's the best strategy. We are allocating this service to a specific partner in the final consortium. Then it's not only the deliverables should not only be papers, reports, or so. It should be always at least a few really project service, whatever it is, something really what can be used. Then we all know gender balance is very important, considered by the Commission. Yes, it's not really a problem in our field. It was always an excellent gender balance. You have to become more and more an expert also about the complex financial regulations. It's not a problem because we have at Brunel really the people who knows, but expect always partners, that you have partners better than industry, which have absolutely no clue, and you need to train them. You need to guide them. Then impact. It's all about impact, impact. And you have to think really serious about this. Very connected to impact. And this is a phrase which I read again and again. Is helping to reshape the European and global governance. And you have always to break it down. What does it really mean for you? And in our case, it's really strategies how to support politicians, regulators, or decision makers, and how this might feed into existing new policies and so on. And what they expect is not blah, 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 but really concrete strategies. I think that's all from my side. Usually the last slide should be about, I think, about all the members, but which supported the last 20 years, but this would be nearly a textbook. Yeah, so, okay, so here I will finish.
Oh, thank you very much, Martin. It's particularly exciting to hear about the other side of impact regulation, politics, policy regulation, policy input. And actually, Commission now have, particularly in Joint Research Council, particularly unit or organization called Science for Policy, and they are the ones who are supposed to look for all these inputs from the projects. Also, we're fascinating working with regulators. Yes. Sorry, Martin, you wanted to comment on that?
Working with regulators with or as? So
With.
no, because I have also consultancy. I'm very often working for regulators. Yes, the landscape of regulation in Europe is quite diverse, and there's not always common agreement between, obviously. So the whole field, it's about politics, understanding politics, how it works, especially also on the Commission side, who you can contact, where you can achieve, or where's the biggest likelihood to achieve impact. So you need really always a good network, and it's really wise to start with regulators who are really doing something. Getting access on a European level is probably a little bit more difficult if you're a wrong researcher. But on the national levels, it's easier to make the contacts. I mean, it's always network in the beginning. And yes, and all the vision papers coming from the Commission, they give you some direction.
Yes.
And you might disagree or not.
Sorry, I think Pinlin has a question, and we only can allow one question because well, it comes into Michael's time. But thank you very much again. It's fascinating, very interesting.
Thank you very much. Yulia asked a question I wanted to ask about regulators as well, which is thank you for asking that. So my question is more, I noticed that a lot of the projects that you've led at least deals with experts that you need in like say chemicals regulations and legislation. And so in the consortium sort of stage or at any point, how do you assess or what are you looking for in an expert in these areas, and how do you decide finally how you pick them? And I'm asking for a selfish reason is because I want to know how to market myself and strategize myself as one of these types of regulatory experts in, say, for me, it's artificial intelligence and biomedical technologies legislation.
Well, I can't speak for your areas. I don't know.
No, it's okay. Yeah.
Regulation. I can only speak about the chemical policy and how to become one of the experts. I think that's what you want to know. You must be considered as an expert to get access to the regulators in a meaningful way. And other approaches is they have very often tasks which are outsourced, tenders or so. That's usually the entry, the best way to entry to come in contact to become visible to them. So it's not the classical research projects. You have to look how it operates. What are the tasks? What are the needs? Why do you think you might become important for them?
I'm sorry to interrupt, but maybe Pinlin and Martin, you can take this conversation outside the session because we really now pressed for time. Again, it's very interesting, and maybe we even can have separate session or webinar on this subject. But now I need to give the word to Michael, who is going to speak about very specific part of a special part of European Parliament, Marie Skłodowska-Curie action, and he's going to tell you why it's important, why it's useful, and what it is about.
Okay, thank you, Yulia. Can you hear me clearly?
Yes.
Yeah, okay. I'm going to first share my screen and let me know if you have see the right screen. Okay.
We do, and we hear you and we see you.
Okay, thank you, Yulia, for answering. Okay, so Yulia asked me to talk about the Marie Skłodowska-Curie, it's MSCCA, and so my presentation was slightly different from the previous presenters, our colleague. They present more on the impact of the research itself. I'm going to present something the impact of the Marie Curie project. Okay, I've been working on my career and all my those fellows working with me, their career, and also share some of my experience in developing these proposals and also benefit of and working on a Marie Curie fellowship or Marie Curie project. Okay, so that's various type of Marie Curie project. One is the Marie Curie Staff Exchange and Marie Curie Doctoral Network and Marie Curie Postdoc Fellow and Marie Curie Co-Fund. So, and obviously name change from Horizon 2020 to Horizon Europe, and back to FP7. It's called people. So that's what Marie Curie is all about, people. Okay, and they focus on people and more than focus on the project itself. Okay, so it's developing people. So I've been working with Marie Curie. On Marie Curie proposal since 2014. Let me go down. Okay. So at least some of the project I've been working of, not all of them are Marie Curie, some are more Pillar 2 project. Okay. So first of all, just introduce myself. So I've been here Brunel since 2008. So it's been quite long now. So 17 years. I'm currently head of department civil environmental engineering. I started Brunel as a lecturer and progression to senior lecturer, reader, and professor over this step across all the steps. So my research expertise currently more on low carbon and carbon absorbed cement and concrete and waste valorization for concrete for construction, and also advanced concrete technology. I do have unique recipe called extrusion of cement-based material, which is a precursor or a father of the current extrusion-based 3D printing. So I don't do much 3D printing, but I don't think there's much to do 3D printing in terms of in our areas. Pretty much borrowing knowledge from other areas, but a fundamental actually has been done in terms of rheology. This is what I did in my PhD work many years ago. I also work on technology for cement and concrete. I think this is a very hot topic, and I have several proposals working on technology for cement and concrete and towards carbon neutral. They're either being funded or they're on reserve list. So that's something I think I really think that's the areas. And if you're working same area like me, you may want to think about that. And I also have I've trained as a structural engineer, and before I joined Brunel, many of works on structures and engineering. Now I do less on structural engineering, but I still keep interest and hoping to do less with some PhD work rather than not much on the project itself. Okay. I would also like to see a few words about Maria Sklodowski-Curie, MSCEA. Okay, so as I said, it's pretty much about people. So it found excellent research innovation. Okay, but through funding the research, it's training people. Okay, different career stage training people, particularly focused on the early age researchers. Okay, and also knowledge exchange. So between senior researcher and early career researchers, such as staff exchange, and expose and the facilitate collaboration and expose to different sectors, people and the cultures disciplines as well. Okay, so this is the beauty of the Marie Curie MSCCA. So you find most MSCA, you have more academic partners than in a project you will see in the Pillar 2. So in Pillar 2, even research and action, research innovation action, you may have a consortium, you have maybe 10 partners, you may have 3 academic, you don't have many, but if you have the Marie MSCA, likely majority of the partners are academic, or majority of beneficiaries are academic. So this is a difference. Okay. And Marie Curie is trying to help the Europe build Europe's capacity for research innovation by investing in people. Okay, and in different career stage. Okay, mainly focus on earlier career, but also have those have established career to share experience to foster the growth of the earlier career staff. Okay, again, they have they support the doctor training, they support postdoctoral training, like a postdoc research, which is very competitive and also very good paid. I would say that compared with our doctor research fellow, if you get a project from UKRI, your risk fellow can hire I mean you can pay is much less. Marie Curie post fellowship will pay. Okay, so come this one. So the principles of Marie Curie actions include excellence, same as as I in my view, excellence plays a more important role to successful Marie Curie proposal than it plays in the Pillar 2 proposal. Okay, and mobility. Okay, that's very different from other grants. It must have mobility. There's rules apply the mobility. It is bottom up. Okay, right? You can choose the topic you would like, you would interest to research or interested to do develop proposal, while many other the pillar 2 or pillar 3 and course are top down. So you have to give in that the two things you have to deliver. Okay, then you just write a story, says promise story, and convince that the commission, convince the evaluators that you will deliver it and get through the project what the commission would like to see. But here, Marie Curie is totally bottom up. It's like a standard mode, UKRI standard mode. Okay, so I think such kind of proposal, academic has much more voice. Okay, has much more freedom and under control. Okay, so actually that's why I like this kind of actions. Okay, and again, this involved the effective supervision, career guidance for early career researchers. So I've been involved in the main 5 projects, European projects, which I'm a PI at Brunel, and one of them I'm even the coordinator of the whole project. Okay, so the first one I've talked some experience later on. Okay, is my role actually is more senior than just a PI as a beneficiary. I'm also scientific manager. Okay, and the second one is actually my first Marie Curie project, which is staff RISE project, Research Innovation Staff Exchange. Now it changed the name Staff Exchange now. And it was a very good story. I'll tell you later on how we managed to submit the proposal. And the third one is Pillar 2 project, Research Innovation Action. Actually, I was a coordinator, was successful finished in 4 years' time. Then I got this Marie Curie individual fellowship in Horizon 2020. Now you call postdoc fellowship. Okay, in the Horizon 2020, it doesn't limit the stage of the fellow. Okay, now in Horizon Europe, it limits somebody must have no more than 8 years experience after postdoc, which I think is reasonable. Otherwise, because this is supposed to support early career fellows, you can't compete with some kind of established career then apply for this grant. Okay. And 2 years ago, we just got this Marie Curie Staff Exchange project, and currently is on delivery, and we have a really 50% months, and 2 of my PhD students currently working on the project to secondment, which is mitigating the risk. We actually currently we have got our lab closed due to RAC. So I will talk about a little bit more later on. So also have 3 projects. I would say very unfortunately and not funded. Okay, so the first one is very big one. Is Horizon 2020 and in IT and innovative training network is nowadays called Doctor Network. Okay, it's bigger. Back to 2020, Horizon 2020, it can support up to 15 doctor researchers. Now only 10. So now there's in Horizon Europe, the size is smaller. So hopefully it will boost the success rate. Okay, so back to Horizon 2020, ITN success rate around 8 to 10%. Okay, we got this one. Actually, unfortunately, due to our reason, we couldn't get a grant agreement signed. It's really shamed, and it's a really nice project. It's a big consortium, and Brunel itself, we're going to host 2 researchers if we get a grant. Okay, and in 2 years ago, I have this American fellowship, which is a postdoc fellowship. Okay, again, you see there's nano engineering now. This one we just got on the reserve list. Okay, it's missed the funding, and this proposal was submitted last year. Okay, unfortunately, it just scored even lower, so even not on reserve list. But I got another person last year, and I have 2 proposals last year. So another person working with me on slightly different topic and related to linear technology, only get scored 63.6%. Again, it's just missed the threshold. It was on reserve, unfortunately, because it has got a British host, so we're not even on reserve list. No chance can move the main list if some people drop off from main list. But since change, so from this year, the proposal from a British host wouldn't be any different from the proposal from a European host. So it's a good sign. Hopefully, across the university, we're getting more success in the Marie Curie fellowship. I would say that it's very good for the fellow itself. Okay, it's very paid and also it's highly prestigious. Most of them will get a permanent job after academic job after they finish their fellowship. Okay, so I started 2008 a lecture, and my first experience and involved the European proposal with FP7. Actually, I was called to join that proposal, and based on my expertise, unique expertise on extrusion of cement-based materials. That's one enterprise in Denmark. They would like to revolution their ways to produce and fiber reinforced cement roof tile and cellars. So I probably only a few person in at the time in the world has experience and research doing that extrusion of cement-based materials. Okay, so at the time I have little experience, but I think Brunel gave me quite a support and kind of training. Gregor knows how to run these European projects and proposals. It's two stages at time and very different. And FP7 and before Horizon 2020, you may have been requested. So you're being invited to grant agreement, but the reviewer said, oh, you're going to reduce the budget. So at the time, we have been asked to reduce 25% of the budget. So it's a very long negotiation. I remember that the second stage proposal was submitted around May 2010. Then the result came in July, August 2010, saying, oh, you have been invited to grant agreement, okay, but you just need to reduce your budget for 25%. Okay, the negotiation takes long within the consortium, and eventually we only got that the grant agreement signed around a year later, and July 2011, and we started in December 2011. Okay, 2011, and it was 3 years project, and that was my first experience. And the project has achieved some target, not all the target, but I think it's very so far a very good experience. Okay, and myself, I was promoted a senior lecturer 2011. Obviously, I have got another grant, EPSR grant as well by the time. And then in 2013, I went to a conference and somewhere in Portugal, and I got a chance to visit that the one of the professors who actually is conference committee in the host university. We talk about that research. Then we were common kind of interest and on the research areas, and he shows his work, and I presented my work of this FP7 project, which I just introduced in last slide. And so he was very interesting, and we had a long discussion over the 2 days. And surprisingly, we skipped many sessions. We have long discussion when we decided to collaborate on Horizon 2020. So the first call, we saw that possibly, and the easier one will be RISE. Okay, research staff and university exchange. Okay, so we did actually submit a proposal. And we have a time we have not sure, and what kind we have none of us with experience for success in people and project FP7 or earlier. So basically, we have no experience on MSCA. So we moderately submit a proposal with partners, including the US universities, and it was successful. And I think it's because in the first call 2014, and the success rate is higher. It's from the 35%. So we're lucky, and our proposal was not highly scored, but we are just above threshold. So we got the funding, and the impact of this one is that, okay, one of my peer students, I can complete his thesis, okay, mainly based on the project. Okay, he was given the project to do. Later on, when we got the funding, I said, could you change the project? Because I need somebody to deliver the project to the secondment. And also, I realized that we can use the facility in our partner university. Okay, and he did well. He was really enjoying that placement in the partner university, and did quite a lot of work. And even he came back for secondment. We continue to collaborate. We have a number of publications. Okay, and so if we would, I did not get the proposal and the project, and we might be struggling to complete some of the work we would like to do. To be honest, I found the European university, even them have a much lower reputation and ranking in QS. Okay, they have better equipment than us. Surprisingly, they're better equipment, they're better facility than us. I think Brunel, at the moment, I think while facility is a problem to proceed and kind of advanced research. Okay, so I'm lucky to have these partners. Okay, I know this university, I've collaborated some of the much lower ranking in QS, but I think they're better facilities than us. Okay, and with the successful RISE project in 2014, we prepared a proposal and was enlarged consortium on the ITN. That's what I mentioned, ITN. The one actually scored very high as we invited the grant agreement. Unfortunately, we couldn't get the grant signed and due to some reasons. And okay, so by 2016, I'm being able to promote a reader at the end of the year. Then later on, and obviously I submitted a big proposal, is 5 million euros to the Pillar 2 on energy efficient buildings, which I think that fit my expertise very well. Actually, I've been looking the core for a year, and eventually I decided to work on the proposal in September 2015. We have this Institute of Energy Future and away day somewhere in Slough, somewhere in Windsor. Okay, so in the away day, I said, oh, I'm interested into this one. Anybody interested, you can join me. Okay, so because I got quite significant support from RCDO, and eventually we get a successful, and this is one of the line actually the proposals project has been coordinated by Brunel in Horizon 2020. Okay, so I have 2 research fellows working on this project, and one of them has now assistant professor in the CURE's top 50 universities, and I got another fellow with research fellow, plus one of my PhD actually completed dissertation partially, okay, linked to the project. Actually, he contributed quite a lot and to project delivery, and his work is related to the project. Okay, and I was promoted and chair in 2018, and did halfway of the delivery of the project. Okay, and in terms of supporting ECR to bid for this Mercury and individual fellowship. Okay, my first experience 2016-17, the year, wasn't successful. It's excellent. I think idea is excellent. Unfortunately, I don't know that the template. I don't know what's the way how to write. We don't know that. Okay, then later on we learn some experience. We learn some good proposals, and then we managed to submit one. Another was another ECR in 2019. That was the first submission from that guy, and that was scored very high, 98%. Okay, I think now this 98% may not be so high as compared in 2019, because I see that there's inflation in my view of these scores nowadays in the Mercury, so they're so high. But that time 98% is very high, so his score always almost 4.9 for every three each of 3 criteria. Okay, I look at the comments, almost no negative or strong things. Okay, so that's very successful. Now he's now become professor and deputy in Chinese University. I'm still collaborating with him, and quite a lot, including that the recent doctoral work and proposal, though was not successful. I also support a number of other colleagues ECRs to do this a Mercury Fellowship ones, and as I mentioned, there's 2 of them on the reserve list. There are 2 different people, not same people, because they submit 1 year and submit another year. And as I mentioned, sometimes it's out of it feels no clue. So in 2022, we got one and scored on the reserve list, and 2023, I think we just address the comments from the reviewers, and also got a support and help from Ali and post on the impact. But in 2023, the proposal was scored even lower than 2022. Okay, I just have no clue. But I think overall, okay, my experience that, okay, so Marie Curie, I think is a favorite of academic, but not that favorite to business, because they don't pay their salary. So for us, we're not worried about salary. We're salary being paid by university, by teaching, by all the activities. Okay, so you will easily get academic partners into the consortium. Obviously, you got to be selective. You got to say that who actually, and just as the other previous presenter share experience, you can't just grab anybody to your consortium. Okay, in fact, if they are, I'm going to coordinate, I'm going to write a proposal. Do you want to join my proposal? I think if there's a line of 10 academics say yes, I want to join your proposal. Okay, so that's, you got to be selective. You got to know who you like working with, and who likely to contribute positively in the proposal stage, in the deliver ideas, brainstorm. Okay, brainstorm. I think many people will do a good job and deliver a project once it's funded, proposal is funded. But I think you need people, okay, a great mind to help you to develop proposals and to brainstorm ideas, making it a winning one. Okay, this is my experience. Okay. So, this slide showing that my recent staff exchange proposal. We are not really, we only have 2 months to prepare. That's one, but we scored just slowly below the threshold. But unfortunately, and we've been called back and to move out to main panel, main list, which means it's funded by Horizon Europe. Obviously, a British partner, we're funded by UKRI, and so one of the impact I have is that 2 of my PhD students currently on secondment. Okay, because our lab is closed due to REC, so we can use our partners and lab and I think that's benefit. And besides, as I mentioned earlier, okay, I very often found that better labs than us. Sometimes it's very frustrating, and when we're doing this one. Myself, I also have the secondment for two partners, and for accumulate so far now each have got 1 month, so I'm free to do shorter partner secondment in the future, and because I can't commit too much time and on the secondment, but I'm lucky to have 3 PhD students working on that. I'm also welcome some of my colleagues who are PR QIs on the project and who can send their PhD students to the secondment, and to it's very good experience for the PhD student, also for a colleague who can go there for somewhere for 1 month and to exchange. That would be great. And particularly we have a long summer. I think it's a good time for them to do some exchange. Overall experience, I would say that okay, different from the second pillar 2 proposals. Okay, even second pillar you have a research innovation actions. Okay, I'm not talking about inactions, just innovation actions. Even your research in action, I think research science, okay, have much higher weighting than any molecular proposal than the pillar 2 proposal. Okay, I think the pillar 2 proposal, I think sometimes even research and innovation actions after they finish the project, okay, another project, I see that many even research innovation are more towards innovation. Okay, many of the things that have to have impact. You have to say demonstration. Okay, it's really have not much and room for doing science. I would say even for research innovation actions, but molecular is very different. Its science is really dominate. Okay, you got must go science. Proper idea, good idea. Okay, so that's why I like this molecular a project. Okay, kind of proposal. Okay, yeah, I can see that. Sometimes I say I'm I'm more convinced when I see the ESR, okay, and the evaluation summary report of a molecular fellowship or molecular science subject change or ITN. I'm convinced that's weeklies. Okay, sometimes I'm very confused by the receive ESR from for the pillar 2 proposal. I think little out. I have little less clue. Okay, how to improve it for pillar 2 proposal to be successful next time. Then I know how to improve if the molecular fellowship, a molecular proposal, whether SE subject change, postdoc fellowship or doctoral work. I know that I'm very convinced in this one. Okay, so I think that's something maybe for academic partners. Okay, I think that's a good way. I would encourage you to really put some attention to the molecular fellowship. Besides, okay, someone like postdoc fellowship, you don't need partners. Okay, it would be good you have partner to supplement. Okay, and also industry partner to boost the and the impact. Okay, but it's not so critical as you would have a pillar 2 research innovation action or innovation actions. Okay, for innovations. Okay, it's largely under your control. Okay, why if you in a consortium of a second pillar, I think it's less under your control as academic partners. We do many things same as a research institute or even some company. Okay, Okay, I will say this echo was my third point. The breadth of consortium is important to success. Okay, but it's less important. It would be a research and innovation action or innovation action. Okay, that's what my experience. Okay, and to be successful for a molecular, you still need to address other soft aspects, as that's mentioned. That's Martin mentioned many other things. Okay, not just science. Okay, what I would say is that science. Okay, good science. Okay, contribute more to success of molecular proposal. then the second pillar. Okay, again, but you still need addressing everything. So my experience that okay, you got to address everything. Okay, and if you focus too much on few aspects, okay, you address this fantastically, but you miss other some soft aspects. Okay, lastly, you wouldn't be successful. So you got to touch everything. Even you only have 10 pages within a postdoc fellowship, you got to touch everything. Okay, so sometimes it's a balance. You got to think about what balance you're going to touch, what level of detail you can touch. But you can touch everything. Okay, even science is the key factor to successful Marie Curie fellowship. Okay, good thing is that for Marie Curie project, okay, you have less burden for deliveries. Okay, for example, like research fellowship, you only want delivery as end of year report, end of project report. Why if you do a pillar 2, you have 1 or 2 technical and review meetings. I remember, I think that back to Horizon FP7, we have 2 3 years project. We have 3 and interim and technical review. Okay, and so it's quite sometimes quite effect. Oh, after a few months, you got to finish the deliverable. You're going to facing the another technical review. Somebody hired by commission. I do the job. I also nowadays I'm just not review proposal. Also I do that job as a expert, help commission review the delivery of the proposal and the projects. Okay, but it is a burden. It is really a little bit nervous when you have to be review a project. But now Marie Curie is less burden. And also, I think it's a good thing for Marie Curie is very great fun, and you find more academic impact. Okay, then you're working on the second pillar 2 project. Okay, I'm only talking about academic impacts. Okay, I'm talking outside. Okay, so in pillar 2 project, you obviously have academic impact, but much less than and in a Marie Curie project. Okay, obviously you make lots of new friends. I think sometimes if you work in industry, okay, they are very conservative. They care about NDA, they care about that pattern, and care about many things. Okay, I had experience with even in the Marie Curie fellowship rights project. We went to the the industry doing secondment. They say, oh, some part you can't see that. Okay, but if you work in any university, I don't think it's like us, very open. Okay, we are cited exchanging ideas. Okay, so that's good. So if like to academic. Okay, so that's the beauty of the Marie Curie projects. Okay, again, we have lots of meetings and we go secondments. You visit lots of universities, a lot of cities across Europe and even beyond. Okay, you have experienced different cultures. Okay, and they join the publications. I think you have more publications than the pillar 2 project. Sometimes even research innovation project, you got an objection from partners. No, you can't publish. Okay. So anyway, so if you got a project, even like a few million project, you may have much less publications than a Marie Curie fellowship project. That's true. I found this one. Okay. So this is just share my experience, some personal experience, and doesn't represent any my view of the founders or Brunel University. Okay, just my personal experience. I have to make it clear here. Okay, thank you.
Thank you very much.